Hello there, welcome. This is ThinkTech Podcast, and we are talking today about AI integrated business development. In other words, making optimal use of AI in the process of business development. Our guest today is Wouter Biegstrater. Welcome, Wouter. I'm happy that you're there.
Thank you. Nice to be there.
Okay, thank you. And Wouter is UX designer or UX strategist. He's a well-known speaker at conferences, hosted many design workshops like AI design, user-centered design, design learning, and many more kind of workshops. And next to that, he's a trainer at the ITRA Academy. Needless to say that he has significant experience and knowledge about many areas in the IT world. Amongst that, of course, business development. He is innovation prone, and that can be very useful for this talk today. Conversations with Wouter are always a pleasure and inspiring. Don't miss this conversation. And maybe, Wouter, I did miss something in the introduction.
Well, I could tell something about what I do. I work for an automotive platform called Via Bova.nl. It's a Dutch platform for automotive, and I am basically responsible for the UX and the UI of the platform. We do user testing for the designs, interviews with clients and customers to build the best possible platform.
And how many years are you doing that already?
I think we're going in this is my fourth year.
Great.
It's nice. It's a bit of a startup approach. It's a small team, which basically means that you can go zero to hero quite quickly. Go to market time. Really nice.
Really good to hear. So thank you for that extra background of you. So today we are talking about the AI in the process of business development.
Yeah.
What can we expect from AI in this process? Will it help? Will it be appreciated? And that and more is to be discussed and to be find out in this conversation. So let's start with that. But first, Wouter, UX and business development. How can we see that combination?
In the beginning, it looks like it's a strange combination when you look at it from the start, UX and business. But when you come to think of it, you are working with the brand. And as a UX designer, you think about the best possible way to present your brand to the consumer, which basically means that you have to think about what you want to do. When you look at the horizon, what are the next steps? Do you see a trend? So basically, you are actually looking at new business. So where do I see a new target area emerging? How do I change certain messages? And you always look at basically, can I improve my brand? By thinking like that, you automatically start to think about business development. So where are the opportunities?
Yeah, I understand that. So, but with business development, you are not only looking at products, but also services.
Yeah. I mean, the platform that we are at is a service. We provide vehicles that you can buy if you are looking for one. And if you look for services, then you need to think about what will my consumer need tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. And sometimes you have to think for the consumer because not always is it visible or clear to the consumer what he actually does need. So you need to help out. And sometimes it's your own business that say, look, we need a new product or we have this product. How can we make it bigger and scale it up?
Yeah, indeed. So it has everything to do with each other. There's a gray area, maybe. It's pure business development or pure UX, but there's a big gray area.
There's a big area. There's an overlap. And of course, you always will have certain things that really belong to UX and that really belong to business development. I don't do numbers in that kind of sense. I don't go and forecast, okay, this will be the next revenue. But you can see events happening in the near future, or, we're talking about AI and how is that going to influence. That will create new opportunities, both for business development and UX. So in a way, it's the best of both.
I understand. So that's the relationship between AI and business development. And if we look at the traditional business development process, I understand that business development, as far as I know it starts with a lead or generating a lead, because business development is you want to go to new customers, want to have a bigger market, you want to go to other markets, maybe with the same product what you have. So I see really the traditional business development process, and maybe we can use that as a guiding for our conversation, that you have a middle large organization with some salesmen, product managers, with some business development
as well
managers, and let's see what those business development managers typically do. And they exactly what I said, they try to find new markets, new customers. So they do a kind of lead generation, and then when the lead is there and relatively hot, then it goes to the sales department, and they need to actually build further on this initial lead, on this prospect. So if we look at the traditional business development process, how can AI be a part of that business development process?
AI can help because it could be an extension to your brain. So suddenly you are two. So normally you have to come up with all the concepts, the ideas, and check whether the facts are right, yes or no. You can now also go to AI and ask ChatGPT and say, look, what's your opinion, and help me out. And if I feed you this data, it can provide a new insight, and it can lead to new markets. So I think it's interesting to see how they can help you explore new opportunities.
Yeah. So I like the concept that you say we are with two.
Yeah.
So you have a sparring partner where you actually can have this prompting, what you do with GPT, of course. But can you go further than only saying in general? Can you go further in the sense that you really ask about this specific prospect? What are the weak points of this prospect? Can you ask that to GPT, by example?
I do know that you can instruct it to behave like a certain person or like a certain entity. So you tell it from now on, adopt this role and start thinking from this point of view. And then you can dissect certain things, and then it will answer from that point of view, which can basically provide interesting insights. And it can crunch numbers, but it can also dissect text and say, okay, I would if I would change this, it would be this. So if it helps with getting an insight to the profile of your new customer, and then basically when you have identified that new customer or an existing, but you want to extend, and then you can ask GTP and say, look, now write me a new proposal for a new concept for this very client that is new, and it's exciting, all these keywords that will make him stay at my platform, and hit enter. And it will provide you with an answer. So that's really nice.
And you also can ask GPT to put it in the tone of voice of this customer, a specific customer, and maybe GPT or the AI is really looking and searching on the internet, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, how this person is communicating, and then use his words, more or less, his or her words, to communicate.
Yeah, you can tell it to use certain sources. You can also say, if it's more of an academic piece that you need, a bit more text, a bit more in depth, you can say, look, use longer sentences with a maximum of this amount of words. I want you to use, words with more than 2 syllables. You can really instruct it how to write the text. Done yet? Then, of course, you will always need to cross-check. You never assume that whatever is generated is done in finished product. You need to go over it, check it, interpret it, change it. There's always some afterthoughts that you need to put in there.
Yeah, and you need to correct it sometimes. It's really not 100% stable and not 100% reliable at this moment. What do you think? Will that come? That it's really reliable?
It depends on the data set. It is all fed a tremendous amount of data to make sure that it is able to do all these kind of predictions. But you have to bear in mind as a user, so like you and me, that when we use it, then we need to ask it the right questions. It's as stupid as you ask the question. So input is output. If I ask a simple question, I get the simple answer. It's my job to make sure that you talked about prompting earlier, that my prompt is properly defined. Could be a bit longer, but then I will get a proper answer back in return.
Yeah. Indeed.
So
Is it also possible to what as a business developer in a traditional way,
mhm,
if you try to focus on a prospect and
mhm,
say you want to develop this and this prospect, and it's also a middle large company, then you talk uh, together with marketing about
mhm,
targeted marketing,
mhm,
so that you really the personnel of this company, that you target that personnel with specific advertising
mhm.
on social media and etc. Is Can AI play a role there, or is it still manual work for the marketing department then?
Well, I can only speak from a UX point of view, of course. I do see points there. I do see possibilities there because you can ask it to use certain words. You can ask it to dissect your text and say, "Is this optimizer? Yes or no? Does it need improvement? Will it resonate with my target audience?" These things you can ask. So it's interesting for marketing, and you've got loads of tools that help marketing with come up with a text, or either you feed it text and it will dissect information from that very text that you then can use to build a campaign or as a starting point for something else. So in those ways, it can help. You have a lot of online tools at the moment that are really looking how they can integrate AI into their workflow. So Canva is a tool for designers, for people who want to create stuff online but don't have Photoshop, for example, and they can use Canva. And in there is an AI tool, so that you can ask the AI tool to help you out, and things like that. And it is all designed to make life easier, and so basically that it frees you up to do more. As said before, you will always need to be aware that you need to check the images. Think of Kate, that we see nowadays in the news, that she missed a little bit in her Photoshop adventures. Be critical about the output, in text and in images.
No, that's a clear message
Yeah,
indeed. We
yeah,
need to stay on top of it.
yeah, very much indeed.
So in all kind of parts of the work of business development,
Mhm.
you have your assistant where you actually can have profit or
Yeah,
benefit from that you actually do your work better
yeah.
and more focused, faster, and that will be an improvement of the current business development work. What
Mhm,
is done in a company, middle large company, and if you look at the years to come,
mhm.
do you expect any disruptive ideas, game changers related to AI and business development?
I think that, in my opinion, it will increase but not disrupt. I think it will be the adoption is so it's easy to adopt this new way of working. The way of working will be new or improve and evolve. In that sense, it could be disruptive, but it will evolve because you now have this sparring partner. Can imagine that they're probably already working on it, like this kind of coach, this assistant that you can start writing now. You have the opportunities, websites where you can write a skin. And it uses ChatGPT, and then basically you have your own assistant. But under the hood, it uses ChatGPT, asks these questions, it gets fed back and gives it back to you. So in that sense, it's easy because if you're a one-man team, then that really helps because sometimes it's really difficult to, you constantly hear your own thoughts, but it's nice to hear somebody else's thoughts as well. So that will be good. I think you can ask it for some tedious things, or dissect get me the trends from this. That's easy to do. That's stuff that you don't have to do. I like AI, but I am aware that when I use AI, I need to make sure that I somehow make the information mine. Because when you write something, you process stuff, you get your ideas, you think about it, you chew on them, and then there's output. If AI does it, there's also output, but I have never thought about the question in great length. I just read the text and go like, right, we're done. There's always the responsibility that you have from your own point of view, your work. Look at it, read it, interpret it, and then change it, just like you said earlier as well.
Yeah. So what you were saying, in fact, AI will not take over. There will not be a real connection point between AIs of different companies at a certain moment that you say, okay, and we buy from you because, hey, that's what AI is telling us.
You can think, if you want to be really disruptive, and it depends on the standards, because I can imagine that if you can write APIs, these pipelines for communication between scripts and software, you can connect them, and you only have to hit the enter, and it will do stuff. That might be very interesting to provide, like a chain of decisions that you don't have to do yourself. It will lead to a product, might also go live and all that kind of stuff. In the end, you just need to make sure that it is correct. A couple of years ago, I think it was Microsoft that launched a chatbot, if I'm not mistaken, and it listened to its users and it started to talk back. But you could feed the engine. I think it was in 2 months' time or something like that. It started to use swear words. It was unkind towards certain people. And in the end, I think it did something with anti-Semitism and stuff like that. You don't want that.
No.
So yes, you may connect them, but you need to be in charge of the output in the end before you go live with anything.
Yeah. And Google had recently also problems.
With Gemini.
Yeah, exactly. What really went not well.
Sour. Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, they didn't like that, and this is interesting. And there's also some people who post about how two chatbots or two systems start to talk to one another, and they have no clue how to do it. They can't understand any of that language, but somehow they do.
Yeah,
Go figure.
Yeah, that's indeed future developments going on. And but the real disruptive, you still think it's humans' work. What needs to be done for business development?
You always need to feed it with input, and AI doesn't start from nowhere. You need to feed it input. It doesn't matter at what point in the chain, but it needs to get an instruction from somebody, otherwise it won't start. We're not that far yet ahead that scans the market and goes like, oh, there's an opportunity. Let me dive into that and create something. We're not there yet at all. So I don't know whether that's being explored, but I can imagine it is, because we can talk about it, we can come up with this idea, but we're not there yet, because that asks a lot of the AI. It needs to be able to scan things, identify certain keywords, combine it, check it against opportunities and demands in the market, that kind of stuff. Would be very interesting.
Would be very interesting because then you can say, as a company selling products, you can say, okay, AI, find me a new prospect with a high feasibility of becoming a client. And do the first steps, and then immediately give it to sales. Then business development is gone.
Because the thing is, if it hits sales, if it's then pushed to sales with a new line of, and that they can follow up. If the information is wrong, they will soon find out when they start reaching out. So if that information is wrong, then the whole pipeline of AI is nice, but if the output is not correct, again, then the whole AI will fail, no matter how good it is. But it needs to be, giving the right output.
Then you still need one leader for business development, who is in charge of the keywords in the prompt for GPT or something like that.
Yeah, you will always need a person like that to cross-check that and make sure everything goes accordingly.
Yeah, it's nice to think about this kind of possible developments. Indeed. What do you think will happen in the near future? Will this kind of things already mature, or?
Yeah, it is. If I look at my work, I'm a UX designer, and I know there are already platforms that you could sketch, and they give you the instructions. Okay, in image is rectangular with a cross in it. So that we can identify it. Our AI can identify it as a placeholder for an image. So you can draw according to their specs, and then you upload your scan, or you upload your drawings, and immediately it gets transformed or interpreted by the AI, and it will generate a wireframe as an output. So you get a model in the software, in the tool, that you can immediately use, turn into a clickable demo, all based on your sketching. So that kind of interactivity is already there. It makes it very easy, and it's also very quick because you scan it, they will do it for you. Normally, you will have to go into the program, in the software, create a wireframe, then make it clickable. But this is, of course, one step less because there is an AI that helps you out, which is really nice. AI can help you with writing better text. You can be a brilliant copywriter, and then you can say, look, can you, do you see, what is it, crossing the T's and dotting the I's, and then, see if there's any room for improvement, and AI will help you out. So in that way, there's a synergy. So that I do see happening.
Yeah. Okay. And on the if you look at the personal or the interperson, what is at stake also in business development, the interpersonal communication. If there is, you try to find an optimum to start the conversation, but if there is a certain, can we ask AI to monitor our personal communication with this client and then ask for advice later on? Is that a development where we see any?
I think that can be developed. I wouldn't be surprised if tools like HubSpot or other large companies, Salesforce, are working on a solution like that, because it can, if it listens into conversations like you and I are having at this moment, you might get your assistant to give you some pointers for your next conversation. That would be really nice. I am curious to what extent the human mind would accept this, because it is Big Brother, So suddenly, I have my way of talking to you, and does AI see all the gestures that we do? Our non-verbal communication, is that interpreted by the AI? Yes or no? Or does it just hear the word but not the intonation? Or when I drop my sentence at the end of a sentence, I go lower. All those things, is that taken into account? I think those are questions that people will have. But a tool like that might actually be really handy, because sometimes you might forget that you're in a conversation and you've got something that you'd like to ask, and then you forget. You missed it, or so I think it can help later.
Yeah, so with Google Class kind of information in my eye, I need to ask this question.
So true. So you will have, when it comes down to business, you will have AI that will provide you with new concepts or new ideas or new ways of doing things or approaching. It can generate information, text, or all kinds of. But if you, it can also help you with building the right chatbot for talking to your community, for example. But you will always have to be aware of the tone of voice. Does it make sense? Is it human talk that is returned? Things like yes, okay, and all these short words. People like to have a feeling that they know they talk to a chatbot, but if you give them the feeling that they're talking to a human being by using normal language, the way you and I talk, including maybe a stutter or maybe a hesitation or things, it makes it human, and then that will give your user a far better experience. and they'll use it more often. They'll return to using the tool. So in that sense, that we can expect a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a nice
indeed.
horizon.
And that's nice developments. And how will UX fit in that development?
How do we fit in? Oh, good one. I think if in my as a UX designer, it's my goal to provide the best solution to a problem. Consumer is looking for whatever, a service, a product, or information. And it is my job to make sure that he or she can find it as quickly as possible, or as intuitive as they would like to be able to find. So I need to be able to constantly put myself in their position and think, okay, how would I? And in that sense, AI can help me, and then together we can make sure that we come up with the best solution for our visitor, for our consumer.
So there's also still a lot of work for UX designers.
There is still a lot of work for UX designers. Yes, things are automated, and of course, people go wild because they see new opportunities and it's new tech. So there are companies who really go like, right, okay, we all know about these AI images that you could write a prompt and it will generate an image, but you still need to think about what that image would look like.
Absolutely.
So-
So in fact, the whole automation or
Mhm.
the AI integration of the
Yeah.
business development process is a product and needs to be designed.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And you need to think about it. If you build a tool like that, you need to think about what data set am I going to use. I do know that there is on Netflix. There's a Coded Bias is a documentary about a lady who discovered that because she has a dark skin and was confronted with doors not opening for her. But there's a camera with facial recognition, and the software didn't recognize.
yeah.
So that's really, so we even need to discuss it. And so she went back and said, look, guys, what's happening? This is really ridiculous. Go fix it. And then it turns out that the data sets that were used to train the AI in terms of being able to do this facial recognition, it's all white people. Because that's the most, I hope that this doesn't sound wrong, but apparently this is the largest group that's fed into the system, and then it becomes the new norm, which is not right from, it was never correct from the start, but it is treated as a new norm. So that's now changed, but things like that will still occur. So we have to be very aware of that.
Yeah.
Because
So,
that's important.
Still a lot of work for UX
Yeah.
designers there
Yes.
and
Yeah.
the integration of this. Well, thank you very much, Wouter,
Mhm.
for
My
this
pleasure.
presentation. It was really nice and inspiring again. So
Yeah, it's fun.
I want to thank you for your participation in this.
Mhm.
And for the viewers, I would say watch the Avenue Code site for more ThinkTech talks. And thank you for also listening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.